Hello again, my friends, and welcome back to yet another segment, whatever you want to call it, on spiritual self-care, otherwise known as surviving the apocalypse. I'm a little bit upset with myself that I didn't come up with that name for this whole series like 2 months ago. But anyways, it is what it is. Today, I'd like to talk to you about methods, spiritual methods. One of the 14th century English mystics, I can't remember if it was the author of The Cloud of Unknowing or if it was Walter Hilton in his Scale of Perfection. It was one of them. It could have been both of them, actually. It sounds like something both of them would have said. But they said that if Christ were to appear to you while you're praying, say you're giving yourself over to meditation, and Jesus himself just like shows up in all of his Jesus-y glory, you're to keep on praying as if nothing had happened. You just keep on trucking, which is a weird thing to think about, but there's a lot of wisdom in it, in terms of just practical wisdom. They're not saying that you don't appreciate the moment, the experience for what it is, because by far it would be one of the most profound experiences of your entire life if you do experience something of that caliber. So it's not as though you don't treasure it, you don't acknowledge it, you don't love it for what it is or what it was. You just don't seek to try to abide in it and dwell in it forever. And the ways that Jesus showed up to you in the past, it may not be the same ways that Jesus will show up to you in the future. And that's part of the lesson as well. So like, let's say you just have this profound experience of Jesus or of God or of the divine or whatever, this profound kind of awakening experience using some sort of method. Let's just say you're using some form of meditation and you have this profound aha moment and your eyes are opened. The temptation will be to keep on using that method without really questioning it because it worked for you in the past. So why wouldn't it work for you in the future, right? In some ways, there's not much wrong with it. In some ways, there's a lot wrong with that because people change. We change. Our spirituality changes and life around us changes. And certain forms of spiritual practice or methods that worked at one point, they may not work forever. And I think that's one major hang-up that a lot of people have when it comes to the spiritual life and the pursuit of God and just growing as human beings, right? We tend to land on something that worked in the past, and it's kind of this mentality, well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But we keep on just using it, and sometimes it actually isn't working at all, but we don't really realize it's something that needs to be fixed or tweaked. And so we have to hold on to our methods that we use loosely. And again, we can value them for what they are and what they've meant to us and how they have shaped us and where they have led us. But we also have to sometimes re-examine our usage of them. And if meditation worked really great in the past, you may come to a point where it doesn't work at all, and that's quite okay. So then it's a good time to give yourself permission to try new things and to try new methods. And at the end of the day, really, like, the pursuit of God, it's not about methods anyways. Like, it's about a relationship. And really the method in the pursuit of God, once you hit a point in your spiritual walk, you come to realize that the method is no method. That there really isn't a method to it. You can't really be methodical in a relationship anyways. Like, if I'm just methodical in my relationship with my spouse, I'll be quite a dry, boring, dull husband, right? So you can't get overly methodical with it, and you can't latch onto these things regardless of how well they've worked. God may have blessed you through them before, but yeah. So hold on to it loosely. And you do get to a point where you realize that the method is no method at all, but you can't get there unless you've actually tried some methods to begin with, right? You have to kind of like try and then fail in some ways in order to get to that place, or try it until you kind of transcend it, however you want to put it. So that might be a kind of a confusing concept, but as I say in all of these ramblings of mine, I found that I've discovered this to be wisdom for myself, but it may not be wisdom to you, and that's quite okay. So the beauty of doing church and doing whatever it is that I'm doing with the collar around my neck these days online is that you have the liberty of turning me off or fast forwarding me. But But yeah, I would urge you, if you feel that you're at a place where you're stuck, oftentimes what people end up doing is they question God's proximity. Well, maybe God has distanced God's self from me. And when people are stuck, sometimes they blame themselves. Well, I'm living in some sort of sin, or I've done something to offend God, and therefore, like, whatever I'm doing isn't working. Well, maybe it has nothing to do with God being remote or you being sinful. Maybe it just has something to do with maybe the method you're using isn't working as well as it used to, right? And that's okay. And I've discovered that plenty of times in my own life. I used to be able to, when I was younger, this actually kind of amazes me. When I was younger and just kind of starting off in this Christian journey, I had the capacity where I could just like sit and pray and just empty my mind of all contents, all thoughts, and just abide in that kind of emptiness for long durations. And just seek to be, I sought to be completely receptive to God speaking to me in the moment. And I just was able to hold that state without being distracted. Actually, it amazes me now, looking back on it. I don't know how I did it other than the grace of God. But as life went on, I was no longer able to do that with at least the rigor and the undistractedness that I used to be able to. So then I shifted. I shifted into having a mantra, and I prayed the Jesus prayer for a long time. And there came a point too where the Jesus prayer, it kind of, it ceased working for me the way that it used to when I first started it. And now in many ways, I'm kind of back to where I began. My own prayer life, much of it's just me sitting in silence. And I wish I had the mental rigor, the ability to be undistracted like I did whenever I was younger, but it's better than it has been in a long time. And so with different seasons come different seasons of prayer too. And so that's part of what this whole spiritual self-care thing is all about. And I imagine there's a good many of us who had pretty robust prayer lives and things that worked really well. And then when pandemic hit, and our emotional states in flux and all of the stuff that's going on, some of the stuff that used to work probably doesn't anymore. And that's okay. And I think ultimately that's what I hope you take out of that. That if there's methods that have worked for a long time for you and they don't anymore, there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with the methods. It's okay for them not to work anymore. And it's okay to give yourself permission to try some new things. It's totally okay. So hopefully this is helpful. And hopefully you got something out of my rambling. I got something, at least I can stand out in the sunshine in Wisconsin February. So I'm just loving life right now. Hope you're having a great day. God bless. Thank you for listening again. Peace.